Whether you're still progressing through the story or find yourself teetering on the edge of the endgame, there is one important system in Lost Ark that's best understood sooner rather than later. Hey there friends, it's Codiak here. Welcome back to Legacy Gaming. Today, we're polishing up those trinkets and taking a deep dive into everything you need to know about engravings. Engravings are one of the single most important factors in the endgame of Lost Ark. In many instances, a single engraving can catapult a class into a completely different direction. In others, they are integral to both the identity and success of a class at a fundamental level. Simply put, these provide your character with buffs, either permanent or temporary, under certain conditions. Every engraving is unique, and many can work depending on your playstyle and build. Of course, with everything good, there are bound to be some not-so-good things, and we'll talk about those too. While the goal is to achieve optimal build efficiency through positive engravings, there are also negative effects that come along with engraved items called a malus. Pushing the positive effects as far as possible while minimizing the negatives is the name of the game here, and it's something you'll no doubt be working to perfect during your time with Lost Ark. The first thing we should jump into is the UI, in order to visually understand where everything sits on your screen. In one character panel, you'll see in the bottom left-hand side 2 empty bubbles. These are your imprints, something we'll talk about in just a bit. Clicking on these will allow you to see the entire pool of potential engravings your character can learn, both general and class-specific. Each class has their own set of 2 different class engravings that are, by and large, more powerful than the general combat engraving, so just keep that in mind. If we head back out to this menu here to the Engravings tab at the top, it'll take us to a page that shows us all the engravings you've already unlocked through either your gear or engraving books you've learned along the way. Each engraving shows its current level, while the gem slot shows exactly how far you've progressed that particular engraving. Every time you achieve 5 points in an engraving, you'll earn a new level for that engraving. Level 1 takes 5 points, Level 2 takes 10 points, and Level 3 requires 15 points. Engravings are activated once you reach these thresholds. Everything else in between is just a step towards that next tier. Now that's all well and good, but there are 2 very important questions you'll likely need answered. Where exactly do you get engravings, and what do their different rarities mean? In addition to being present on jewelry and ability stones, a topic we'll elaborate on in just a bit, engravings come from class books or battle engraving recipes. Both of these require you to consume 20 instances of the item before you progress any engravings in your imprints by 1 tier. There are 4 tiers, and each tier gives you 3 gems worth of progression on that UI page we showed earlier. Green uncommons will progress you to that 3 gem mark. Blue rares will progress you to the 6 gem mark, activating tier 1 of an engraving. Purple epics will progress you to the 9th gem mark, just short of tier 2. And lastly, orange legendaries will take you to the 12th gem mark, activating tier 2, but leaving you still 3 gems off of tier 3. You'll be awarded these books in both singular form as well as in bags or chests containing several you can choose from, and it's incredibly important that you only use or open these containers when you're absolutely confident in your engraving selection. The reason for this is that many of these sources are one-time bundles over the lifespan of your entire account. Only a few sources drop these books as repeating dailies and weeklies, and often are very small quantities. If you waste them, you'll most likely find yourself at the local auction house paying quite the premium in gold to get what you need in a pinch. Another thing I want to make sure is clear. You cannot get class engravings for other classes to drop on whatever class you're currently playing. You must be playing the class you want to get the class engraving for at that time. General combat engravings can drop for any class at any time. There are limited sources, like I mentioned before, where you can get engravings, such as the Tower activity, side quests, an overwhelming majority of the islands, with a few exceptions like the island of Estella, who houses a vendor that sells a limited quantity each week. There are also repeating sources for getting engravings, such as Chaos Dungeons, Guardian Raids, certain rooms in Cube Dungeons, secret maps earned from Chaos Gates, Abyssal Dungeons, and spending Perception Shards, the currency Chaos Dungeons award once you exhaust your daily runs. Even if you get a book you might not need on your main character, don't hastily learn it or throw it away. An alt of yours may need it for their build down the line. You may also be able to make some coin off it at your local auction house from a player who doesn't listen to this advice. Keep in mind, every engraving that you unlock is shared across your entire account on that server, so think carefully about which of your characters, main or alt, will benefit from an unlock. Now, I mentioned Imprints earlier and showed you that UI. Simply put, these are equipable engravings. You can slot up to 2, and when equipped, they give you a boost to that specific engraving effect dependent on the tier. Generally, you'll slot your class engraving in one and your most important combat engraving in the other. This is pretty much law at this point. However, early on while progressing, you can slot 2 instances of the same engraving, which most often has you embracing 2 instances of your potent class engraving. For example, the Bard's class engraving Desperate Salvation at just tier 1 makes it so her class identity skill also gives a burst heal of 8% max HP when it finishes. On the other hand, the Sharpshooter's class engraving Death Strike at tier 1 makes all enemies hit by his Hawk's explosive class skill take 20% more damage from all sources for 8 seconds. Both of these are incredibly potent, one as a support skill, the other in bringing DPS potential online, and having them early on in progression is invaluable. Don't forget, you can only hit a max of 12 gems per imprint, meaning to hit tier 3, you'll need to make up that slack through ability stones and jewelry. Now, jewelry is super straightforward. You just need to know what you're looking at, and it will be smooth sailing. Jewelry increases combat stats, just like any of your armor, but also comes with the benefit of having engraving points as well. Important to note, jewelry can also roll with class engraving points, whereas ability stones cannot. You have your necklace, which needs to focus on your target crit, swiftness, and specialty stats. Generally, you align this with your class engraving if possible. Then you have 2 earrings and 2 rings, which should fill in any gaps that your imprints, necklace, and ability stones can't. You also need to make sure no 2 rings or earrings have the same item name, as you can't equip more than one of the same thing. Rarities go a little like this. Blue rares will roll with 1 engraving with 1 engraving point. Purple epics will roll with 1 engraving that has 1 to 2 engraving points, as well as 1 malice with 1 to 3 malice points. Finally, orange legendaries will have 1 engraving with 1 engraving point, 1 engraving with 1 to 2 engraving points, and 1 malice with 1 to 3 malice points. Because of the RNG nature of these items, always check new jewelry you get from Chaos Dungeons and Guardian raids. Don't just automatically dismantle things. Everything from stats to more optimal positive engravings and even less malice points are on the table, all because of that RNG. Additionally, be on the lookout for tradable jewelry with good stats for not just your build, but other classes. Just because it isn't good for you doesn't mean it's not a potential god roll for your alt or someone else via the auction house that can net you some serious gold. The last thing we need to talk about are ability stones, a core piece of equipment, but also the most frustrating piece of RNG in the entire game. These stones not only provide a huge boost of additional stats, but most importantly can provide up to 10 engraving points for 2 different engravings. That makes this your candidate for both a 3rd and 4th engraving in your build, so you can see why it's so important. The issue is, not only do you need to get the perfect ability stone to drop for you, but you need to engage with a second RNG system to make it functional to use. That's 2 opportunities for everything to go wrong, and why perfect endgame ability stones fetch a hefty price on the auction house. The second system I'm talking about is called faceting. You'll take this stone to a vendor and slowly try to facet positive gems while avoiding negative malice gems. Each time you click the hammer on an engraving or malice and succeed, you'll get 1 point towards that engraving, but also lower your success chance on your next attempt. Every time you fail, your success chance will increase. Because there are 2 times as many blue gems to fill, the simple strategy of back and forth won't work. Instead, you'll need to read the success meter and make your best guess with RNG, hopefully on your side. On endgame gems, you are ideally shooting for no less than a 6-6-3 spread. Of course, the less malice gems, the better. Rare ability stones will add 0 to 6 random engraving points for 2 engravings and 0 to 6 for 1 random malice. Epics can add 0 to 8 random engraving points for 2 engravings and 0 to 8 for 1 random malice. Legendaries add 0 to 9 random engraving points for 2 engravings and 0 to 9 for 1 random malice. And finally, Relic Rarity Stones can add 0 to 10 random engraving points for 2 engravings and 0 to 10 for 1 random malice. Your main source of getting ability stones are Chaos Dungeons and Guardian raids. Ghost ships and field bosses can also drop them, and as always, pay attention to every stone you get. These perfect ability stones can sell for incredible amounts of gold at the endgame. Engravings are both a simple yet complicated topic that at many steps along the way have numerous chances for failure. Being that this is one of the most important endgame systems, we hope we did it justice and put you on a path for success. As always, we try and be as informative and direct as possible with all of these videos, hopefully making them worth your while to watch. If you're excited about Lost Ark and are still looking for a place to hang out, we invite you to join the Legacy Gaming Discord. We've got over 5,000 members in there just for Lost Ark alone, along with LFG channels and so much more. If you want to be part of a positive, inclusive community, all you need to do is join the Discord. That link is below, and assign yourself the Lost Ark role. Of course, if you guys did like this video, you've got to do the YouTube stuff. Hit the thumbs up, and of course, subscribe. We've got a ton more content coming your way, not just for Lost Ark, but for other games like Elden Ring, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and beyond. We'd love to have you along for the ride. Finally, guys, if you appreciate the work we put into all of these videos and you want to help us out even more, you can do so by becoming a member. For just a couple bucks, you're helping Livid and I achieve our dreams of being full-time content creators. Check out the join button below to learn more. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.